gotten some requests recently to make a video going over my whole rig, which I thought was a great idea because my setup has changed quite a bit since I last made a full pedal board demo. So, with the new year, here is my current effects setup. Now before we get to the pedal board, I'll mention that my pickup is the usual piezo barrel wood model. And for amplification, I'm using my Ion Total PA Max active PA system. I won't really talk about these today, especially since I've already done a video on the piezo barrel, but I'll leave more information down in the description. Now diving into the pedal board itself, this is a board that I made a few months ago after some trips to the local hardware store. But on the back, we have our power supply, the Atos Clean Power Supply from Walrus Audio, and I love this thing. It sits well on the back of my board. It's a super sturdy build and it has 8 outputs, so I can run clean, isolated power to each and every one of my pedals. It even has this outlet off to the side, so I guess if I needed to charge my phone or something while I'm at a gig, then I could do that, but more realistically, I'd probably use it to power a small stage light. Now, when the signal comes out of my clarinet, it immediately hits this noise gate, the noise killer by Donner. Basically, it's taking every sound below a certain decibel threshold and not allowing it to pass through, which comes in really handy when I'm using high gain pedals, like Distortion or Fuzz, which are effects that really like to pick up and bring out certain unwanted sounds like key clicks and potentially breathing. After that initial pass through the noise gate, the sound is sent into a volume pedal. In this case, I use a Boss FV30H. Similar to an electric guitar's volume knob, this allows me to control the amount of my clarinet's signal that is then sent into the rest of the effects in my chain. To give a more specific instance, I used this in a piece that I wrote last year, paired with a distortion pedal, to play around with dynamics and accents by using the volume pedal to punch certain moments with the distortion. Next, I'm going to go a little out of order with my signal chain and mention distortion. Using Proco Sound's Lil Rat, which is just a smaller version of their classic Rat pedal, I'm taking the clarinet's sound and overloading it and clipping the waveform. This gives it an intense, rough-edged sound, which lets me play around with rock-style tones more commonly achieved with an electric guitar. And whenever I do school shows, I always love playing a little bit of Close of Dover for the students because why not? Now, when I pair this with an octave pedal, like this one from Boss, this is where we get one of my favorite sounds on this board, taking the clarinet and giving it a dark and reedy hard rock tone. Now, to address what is perhaps the loudest looking pedal on my board, we dive into Fuzz. Fuzz is a type of distortion effect with a typically harsher sound quality with heavier clipping of the original signal. This particular pedal, the Foxy Tone Box from Warm Audio, is one of my newer pedals, so I unfortunately haven't had the chance to experiment with it much, but nonetheless, here's a little something I do enjoy demonstrating during school shows since students tend to request it pretty often, which uses the pedal's upper octave toggle switch. After our gain pedals, we move into the realm of time-based effects, starting with Flanger. This polychrome from Walrus Audio is my newest addition to the board, and so far I absolutely love it. It's what we know as a modulation effect, creating time fluctuations in the signal to add texture and depth to the original sound. Though I haven't had this pedal for very long either, I did get a chance to record an arrangement of one of the preludes from Bach's Well-Tempered Clavier, which you can find using the link up here. I'll also leave it down in the description. It's a short demo pairing the flanger with our next effect, which is delay. For this, I have the Joyo D-Seed. Delay is simply an echo effect, but it's super versatile in a sense that it lets you control a number of different parameters, including delay time, number of repeats, and the type of delayed sound depending on the pedal. This is probably the most fun effect for me because it can be used in so many different ways. This particular pedal has a maximum delay time of 6 seconds, so I can set it to shorter delay time to create a more atmospheric sound. Or I can increase the time for longer delays to create a musical conversation with myself and create the illusion of a second clarinetist playing in the room with me. Recently, I've done a more full-length demo of this effect, which goes over all of the pedal's features and demonstrates the sounds that it's capable of. You can find that here, and similar to the flanger demo, I'll leave the link to this down in the description. Approaching the end of the signal chain, we encounter looping. This effect is pretty self-explanatory, but it's a lot of fun. Using this Boss RC3, I can record snippets of music and put them on a loop. And afterwards, I can either play on top of what I've recorded or add another layer to the mix. And I've heard some pretty extraordinary things people have done with this effect to create a sort of multi-layered one-man band kind of sound. Though typically I like to use this to simply create a faint textural layer underneath, combined with something like delay. Then I'll play my melody on top of that. And finally, we have reverb. This is one of the simpler effects when compared to the rest, but it's probably the one that I use most often because in most cases I pretty much leave it on all the time. Using this pedal from the JHS3 series, I like to either add just a touch of reverb for a little bit of ring when I'm playing in acoustically drier spaces, or I'll lay on tons of reverb for a more thick ambient sound. And that's my rig in a nutshell. I'll leave some video links down in the description if you want to hear more of these effects in action, and I'll have more videos up in the near future, but for now, I want to hear from you. What's your favorite kind of effect? Are you a clarinetist or wind instrumentalist who wants to get into using pedals? If so, is there anything you want to know or any questions that you want to ask? Feel free to drop something down in the comments, and I'll be sure to get back to you as soon as I'm able. Finally, I'll add that if you enjoyed this video, please be sure to like and subscribe so you can stay up to date on future content. Thanks so much for watching.